Chapter 1. Meaning and Relevance of History.
History is the study and the documentation of the past.
Chapter 1. Meaning and Relevance of History. A. Meaning and relevance of history. B. Distinction of primary and secondary sources. External and internal criticism. A. Meaning and relevance of history.
Traditional understanding, study of the past, chronological record of the significant events, often including an explanation of their causes. Modern understanding came from Greek word historia that means knowledge acquired through inquiry or investigation. Sources are oral traditions in form of epics, songs, artifacts, architectures, memory, etc. There's the saying about history. Ang kasaysayan ay salaysay na may saysay sa sinasalaysayang salinglahi. This saying is from Zeus Salazar. Division of history. Prehistory. Period where no written records exist or when the writings of people were not preserved. Analyzed through fossils and artifacts by archaeologists and anthropologists.
Prehistory period.
History. Period when man started to write and record events using a system of writing. Analyzed through wood carves, engraved metals, written papyrus, written papers. Role of historians: to look at the available sources and select the most relevant for history and subject of study. To organize the past that is being created. To seek for the meaning of recovering the past to let the people see the continuing relevance of memories. Histography, writing of history, based on a critical examination of sources, selection of particular details from authentic materials in those sources, and the synthesis of those details into a narrative. Done through historical research with the aid of historical methodology. 1. Choosing a topic. 2. Looking for data through historical sources. 3. Determining the data as a primary or secondary source. 4. Analyze the data through historical criticism. 5. Writing the entire narrative. Importance of history: to unite a nation, to legitimize regime and forge a sense of collective identity through collective memory, to make sense of the present, to not repeat mistakes of the past, to inspire people to keep their good practices to move forward. So, this is historical time frame of the Philippines.
Distinction of primary and secondary sources. External and internal criticism. Historical sources. First, primary sources is first-hand testimony or direct evidence concerning a topic under investigation. There are primary examples. Original materials regardless of format, letters, diaries, minutes, photography, artifacts, interview, and sound or video. Recording are examples of primary sources crowded as a tone or event is occurring. There are 6 points of inquirers to evaluate primary sources. First, date when what is produced. Second, location, where did it original. 3. Authorship, who wrote it. 4. Analysis. What pre-existing materials serve as the basis for its production? 5. Integrity. What was its original form? 6. Credibility. What is the evidential value of its content? Second, secondary sources. Created with someone who did not experience firsthand or participate in the event or conditions you're researching. In terms of historical reliability, primary source, the closer the date of creation, the more reliable one. And a secondary source, the more recent, the more reliable one.
Historical criticism. There are two kinds of historical criticism: external criticism and internal criticism. External criticism is a verification of the authenticity by examining the physical characteristic, consistency with the historical characteristic of the time when historical it was produced and material use. External criticism is refers to the authenticity of the documents. Once a document has been determined to be a genuine external criticism, we can ask the following question. When it was written, where it was written, who was the author, when did it survive? What were the material used? Were the words used were the being the use of the time? Internal criticism is look at the truthfulness and factuality of the evidence, looking at the authors of the source, its context, the agenda behind its creation. It looks at the contents of the source and examines the circumstance of its production. Internal criticism is involved in scientific examination of the relevance of the data. Creation of error or ejection of unwanted information is important. Internal criticism are two kinds, negative and positive. Negative criticism is an examine that if the was of the positive to tell the truth. We can ask the following question. Was it written by eyewitness or not? Why was or written? Is there contingency? What are the connotation? What is the literal meaning? What is the meaning of the context? There are 7 factors on evaluating truth the internal criticism. Genealogy of the documents, genesis of the document, originality of documents, interpretation of the documents, authorial or authority of the documents, competence of the observed, truthfulness of observed. Genealogy of the documents. Is the documents authentic? Is the was an original or copy? Genesis of the documents. Who created the documents, where and when? Originality of the document. Historians must know something about the tradition around the documents in order to need to the properly. Interpretation of the documents. Deciphering the intended meaning of the document. Authorial or authority the documents. With what authority does the writer speak from? Competences of the observer. Factors are particular to the individuals observed and competencies pertaining to the time in which the observer lived. Truthfulness of observer. Clues the observer have any bias.
Rizal did not write sa aking mga kabata means sa aking mga kabata is a poem written in Tagalog about a man's love for his native language. The poem could not have been written in 1869 which when Rizal was 8 based on the use of the letter K which was a reform in Tagalog orthography proposed by mature Rizal. In Rizal's childhood, they spelled word with a C rather than K. Further, the word kalayaan is used twice. Sa aking mga kabata is the poem which is the have 5 stanza which different meaning. Kapag ang bayay sadyang umiibig sa langit, salitang kaloob ng langit, sanlang kalayaan na saring masapi katulad ng ibong nasa himpapawid. Means Rizal poem showed that long before the sprouted the first fruits of his youth, he had already placed distinguished value in the importance of one mother tongue according to this verse. If a nation people wholeheartedly embrace and love their native language, that nation will also surely pursue liberty. He likes this idea to a bird soaring freely in the vast eternal sky above. The second stanza, pagkat ang salita isang kahatulan sa kabayan sa nayot mga kaharian at ang isang tao'y katulad, kabagay ng alin man likha noong kaligayaan. Means language here is like to a people born into freedom. In Rizal time, Filipino were held in the slavery by Spain. Rizal, however, believed that if the people treasured and loved and used their mother tongue, it would become a symbol of relative freedom and of identity. The third paragraph is, ang hindi magmahal sa kanyang salita mahigit sa hayop at malansang isda. Kaya ang marapat pagyamanin ko sa natulad sa inang tunay na napagpala. Means it is here in this line of verse that we find Rizal famous quote, he who does not love his own language is worse than an animal and smelly fish. He further adds that Filipino must work to make the language richer and likes this endeavor to a mother feeding her young. The native tongue is now compared to a helpless child that must be nurtured in order to grow and flourish. The fourth paragraph is, ang wikang Tagalog tulad din sa Latin, sa Ingles, Kastila at salitang Anghel sapagkat ang poong maalam tumingin ang siyang nagagawad, nagbibigay sa atin. According to this line, equal in rank to Latin, English, Spanish, and even the language of the angel. It is not inferior to any other language, nor must it considered so, for it is God who has bestowed upon the Filipino this gift, just as he has blessed the other nation and lands with their native tongue. The last paragraph or fifth paragraph, ang salita natin tulad din sa iba na may alfabeto at sariling letra na kaya'y nawalay dinatna ng sigwa, ang lunday sa lawa ng dakong una. The last line may very well be referring to the Alibata or the Old Filipino alphabet, whose character are unique in every essence, finding likes in any other alphabet. The Tagalog language, according to Rizal, has letter and character of its very own, similar to the way other elite tongues do. These letter, however, were overthrown by strong waves and lost, like fragile, fickle boats in stormy sea many long year ago. In October 12, 1886, letter to Posiano, my dear brother, I am sending you at last the translation of Wilhelm Tell by Skeller. I am aware of its many mistakes which I entrust to you and my brother-in-law to correct. It is almost a literal translation. I am forgetting Tagalog a little as I don't speak it with anyone. Means, the letter addressed to Luciano Rizal, he asked his brother to ask their father to forgiveness for all the pain he had caused him. On October 12, 1886, letter to Luciano, I lack many words. For example, for the word friendship or liberty. The Tagalog word kaligtasan cannot be used because this means that formerly he was in some prison, slavery, etc. I found in the translation of Amor Patrio the noun Kalayahan that Marcelo H. del Pilar uses. In the only Tagalog book I have, Florante at Laura, I don't find an equivalent noun. Means, Rizal sent off his translation of Wilhelm Tell with a letter that speaks of his problem translating in Tagalog, restless with the right rendering of liberty and despair about the cost of printing the Nole. I don't therefore dare ask you for this amount, for I consider it a big for a work that may perchance produce more grief than joy. For this reason, I shall wait for chance for the lottery and see if I win. It is very painful for me to give up publishing this work on which I have worked day and night for a period of many months and which I have pained great hopes. With this, I wish to make myself known, for I suppose that I will not pass unnoticed, and contrary, I will be object of much discussion. The Roman Rook, figure of Philippine history. Roman Rook, a close neighbor of the Abbads, was among the celebrant well-wisher on his occasion. Rocky disclosed that he had been fetched by Lazaro Segovia in San Isidro, Nueva Ecija, and later taken to Manila. He had stayed in the Hotel Cuatro Naciones in Intramuros and been employed by friars for 10 days. Those who strongly believed the faking of the Rizal recreation document reported that the forger of Rizal's signature was Roman Roque, the man who also forged the signature of Urbano Lacuna, which was used to capture Aguinaldo.
Jose Marco Birds, born Pedrola, Spain, 10 January 1950, is a Spanish politician who belongs to the Spanish Socialist Workers Party, PSOA, and who previously served as president of the government of Aragon, one of the Spanish regional administrations from 1993 to 1995. Jose Marco became the most successful conman in the study of Philippine history because in his 50 years career, he was able to make almost everyone believe in his frauds. During the time, it took them a long time to finally question the authenticity and credibility of his work.